1. That's 1925 meeting. Record of attendance and apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Black. And I have an application for leave of absence from Councillor Mann for this meeting, which is a requested one, which we'll go for item 7, vote on leave of absence for Councillor Dan in item 7. Number 3, a response to previous public question taken on notice. No. Public question time and statement time. Anyone from the gallery wish to have a public statement? No questions? We've got petitions, presentations and deputations. John from MGM, would you like to come forward and do your presentation? I really appreciate it coming in.
Yeah, we can just check his seat.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't do a presentation, however,
Yep.
I've had about 5 hours running from birthday to think about what I was going to say, but it was really just taking the opportunity to give the council an overview of the block of land, our plans on developing that block, and the delay in getting the development application in, and the reasons for that delay. But as far as MGM, it's actually a privately owned family business, which the MGM is Mario, Judy and Michael Giacchi, which started MGM when Mario got out of Giacchi Brothers when Q bought it, so very long-term Western Australia history there in the trucking, sort of running around, I think, probably 250 trucks around Western Australia now, and significant development up in Port Hedland with a large fleet and purpose-built workshop, and part of the reason we would like to be further advanced on this particular block, what we had planned on doing with it, was the DA. We were actually building a 220-man camp in Port Hedland, and just a few issues we had with getting that particular development up and going caused a few delays, and then chuck Christmas in, and a cyclone recently has caused a few issues. And the company that is developing that camp up for us up in Port Hedland currently, it's a significant dollar value, and we were hoping that particular construction company could have come down and overseen what we planned on doing with this particular block, and then obviously using any local, i.e. concrete or fences, etc., as much as possible to support the local community. So we were just going to do a pretty rough DA and see what the council had to say about that. In where I suppose the delays have happened, originally that particular block we bought half a dozen trucks to the Midwest to do the job. We decided Mount Magnet was a good spot to base those trucks. We leased a block of land off the council to help us out to get them out of town, I suppose, and not be a menace around the streets. And we had that driver workforce based out of Mount Magnet. We had them in the pub, we had them at Outback Cabins, we had them at Outback Gold, and they supported the community pretty well. So that particular job came to an end. However, we got long-term, medium-term, longer-term plans for the area. We've got a 30-hectare block in Geraldton that we're going to set up a bigger depot, and then need something out in this area, hence we've chosen Mount Magnet as the ideal location. So long story short, where we've ended up is we've ended up going to get the DA with our existing building company, and we've actually got another block of land in Bunbury we're developing at the same time. We've engaged a town planner, and so I just have a quick look at my notes, but this town planner, she's to do the DA in Bunbury. She's 25 years as a town planner. The last 3 years she's been working in the Wheat Belt for the Wheat Belt Development Commission and working with 27 local Wheat Belt governments. And that part of that project she's been working on for 3 years is preparing key worker housing investigations for a lot of the wheatbelt towns. So she, we've actually engaged her to do the development application, and she's got some crazy good ideas that she's put forward. So we've actually then thought, well, hang on a minute, why would we put transportable dongas on that particular block? And part of her investigation, they were like engaging with, you know, what sort of demand you need for housing, suitable housing, you know, service needs to accommodate seasonal workers, etc., and investigating with Grow and, you know, the local community, etc. So she's a ball of knowledge, and that sort of then made us do a 180 of why wouldn't we put self-contained cabins on that block, so when we have our drivers based here, they can stay in the self-contained cabins, they can still support the pub, they can still support the IGA or the town. We don't put a traditional camp there, like, you know, just it's a cabin and they fend for themselves and support the community. So as part of that, we're sort of aligned that's the best way to go. And it was really, today was just to say, hey, look, we should have had the DA and we're a little bit stalled. That's the thought. We could actually support the town if we're not using them, or we didn't have any work here for 6 months. You know, the community, whether it's police or ambulance or Grow, you've got an option for that facility. So really the questions I'm getting asked now is, from a development application, what level of supporting documents do you need to propose your DA application, you know, regarding services, you know, engineering, stormwater, bushfire, etc. Do you just put the DA into their proposal and then get those follow-up documents?
If you can put that in an email for me, I can address that outside the session.
Yeah, that's okay. Then we'll do that. And as part of that DA application, we want a nice plan showing what the end state will look like. So I'll put that in an email then. I think might be the easiest. But it was really just a quick overview of something that will be here after if we're no longer in town. You've got something you can use and use tomorrow if you're up here for short-term accommodation across the board. So really, I don't know if there's any questions or thoughts on that idea, but we're certainly done a 180 from the original conversation when we bought the block, I suppose, what I was wanting to share. Or any questions on it?
No, we appreciate you coming and giving us a full update on what you're actually going to do, and really great that you're doing this, to be honest with you. The community really needs it at the moment as well. So
the town planner that's working with the Wheatbelt Development Commission and, like I said, 27 other councils, she mentioned with some of the work they're doing, they've even been able to get government grants. So I'm not sure. I'm happy to have a hookup with you, Charlie, with her. There might be something we're missing there. That obviously Mario, one of the owners of the business, when he got the overview of that, he's like, why wouldn't you buy the block of land next door and do something bigger? So I said, let's just get this one sorted at this stage. But certainly family business, here to support the town and keep the money in the town versus a traditional camp, I suppose. Yeah.
fantastic to actually see a place is going. Come and see us.
Yeah. No, when the trucks did come up here, I came up personally and set the job up and spent a bit of time in the area. So it's certainly. Yeah. I might sit and hang and have a listen if you don't mind.
No, you're welcome.
But I'll tee up a quick hookup, I think, with Australia, and we'll shoot you an email outlining, and we can get a pretty clear timeline on the DA in and what technical reports, etc. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Josh.
No, very good. See what I can learn.
Declarations of interest. No, applications for leave of absence. Councillor Dan's asked for this meeting and the April meeting for leave of absence. So we'll need to a motion for that. So vote for Councillor Dan having that leave of absence.
I'd just like to say on this, Councillor Dan's attended very few meetings recently. Part of your obligation to the council is to turn up to. It's no mistake to get here.
Yep.
Yes, doesn't seem to make much effort at all.
No. I actually don't know. Yeah.
So the chair can she attend by Zoom meetings?
She wants a leave of absence, that's what she's asking for, so
For 2 meetings.
for 2 meetings until the May meeting, which is a bit of an inconvenience in the fact that we've got all this budget stuff coming up, but she's asked for it. We have an obligation to either say yes or no to this. I'm not sure what happens if we say no.
It is for 2 meetings, this today and next month.
That's right.
Lots of that. If there's personal issues or health issues, it's I think we need to be understanding of some people,
Yeah.
of everybody. But I mean, everybody's got different views. But to be honest, I was going to ask the same thing because I've been quite ill recently.
Yeah.
And so if I leave the meeting early because I'm going back to bed. But,
Yeah.
So perhaps put a motion there that Councillor Dan is approved to leave of absence for 2 months and the councillors can vote on that motion.
Okay then.
yeah.
So
That council approve a leave of absence.
for 2 months for Councillor Dan.
You know, go on, there's nothing here again.
Yeah.
You're
So
voting for it?
we're going to vote for that. So I need someone to put that up, or do we need to put a motion forward?
Yeah, so somebody's got to.
Somebody put the motion, so Councillor Williams has put forward. That's on the second motion.
Yeah.
Councillor Kelly. And so we'll vote, give her a leave of absence. Yes. On the same leave of absence, the CEO will be taking personal leave in the first week of April. And like G's for the following week, notice will be issued appointing Mr. Wright as acting CEO for this period. So we need someone to also endorse
No,
that.
you don't need to endorse it, it was just advice.
Okay, so we don't need to endorse that. Right, so yeah, the CEO will be taking personal leave at the beginning of April. All right, moving on now. Confirmation of the minutes from the ordinary meeting held on the 26th of February. Is someone to move that the council endorse the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 26th of February 2025 as circulated, subject to the following amendments. So someone would like to move the minutes from the last meeting? Councillor Onwood, Councillor Jones. Anything you want to bring up about the last meeting we had in the minutes, anything on record or no? Okay then. I'd like to move the motion, please. That's it. Thank you. We've got the announcements by the presiding member without notice. Well, what I've got is, at the last meeting, have you got those documents there, Erica? So these are the profit and loss statements from the EHO that was requested by one of the councillors at our previous meeting, that we have this document.
This is one that was prepared previously, so a suggestion was made at the last meeting that councillors have never seen the profitability of the EHO consultancy. This is one that was presented to council last year.
Yeah.
So it has been presented to council, just by the suggestion otherwise.
So section 10 now, we'll move on to elected members' presentations and reports. No one seems to have done them this month, so.
We haven't had the race club meeting really, which is the only time
Yeah.
as the council, we got an agreement out of the race club to move forward with the lease agreement.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I've attended, I think.
Kathy will be inside.
Yeah.
Race Club
Yeah.
and CWA.
Kelly?
I think that 2-day change rate workshop.
Yeah.
I voted my language reading. I went to
Yeah, the language group thing as well.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I attended the Are You OK Day down at the pool.
Yep.
and I found it very enlightening. They did a really good job. It was done spaced out so people can talk to each separate group if they wanted to, but they had a lot of information. I thought it was very well done. And just what the town needs sometimes.
Myself, I just attended the race club again. The board of the entrance meeting this morning, this afternoon with the water festival. We'll move on now to section 11, the Chief Executive Officer presentations and reports. The 11.1 Action Register Project Updates, CEO KPI Performance Schedule and Staff Metrics Report. And also with regard to the KPIs. Don't need to go through all that, anyone? Council notes the Action Register Project Updates and Staff Metric Report of progress against the KPIs of the Executive Officer as presented. So could someone move that motion? Councillor Hayward. The second motion, please, Councillor Kelly. Happy to just vote on this one? Yeah. Okay, let's vote going through this report. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to reports, the finance report. 12.1 finance. 12.1.1, the statement of financial activity for the period ending 29th of February 2025. So this is Denise's department, so I'm going to invite Denise to open the conversation. If you wish, just fill in some things that we require to know at this meeting, or any questions to give to Denise. So I'll let you start, Denise.
Okay, if we go to page, let me get the right page number. Page 6, which is page 23 of your agenda.
Explanation of material variances.
Yeah, so that's the material variances that we've picked up through to February. So the surplus deficit at this stage is 4,948,117. None of those adjustments that we've talked about in the budget review are reflected in this document at this stage. So basically, I can go through from the top. Grants and subsidies, increase of 254,000. That's higher than anticipated grants commission funding, the extra main roads direct grant money, the community funding that we got for the Mount Magnet Festival of $10,000, and then a reduction in Astro Rocks Festival funding of 49,992. That's different to the budget review figure purely because this is year-to-date figure to 28th of February, whereas the budget review is estimated to the 30th of June. So that's just the difference of the variations there. Fees and charges higher than anticipated with wastewater, scrap metal, cemetery, airport, visitor centre and commercial property leases. Interest revenue, term deposit renewals are down, and that's a timing issue, plus the municipal fund interest will not be as high as what's in the budget. And there is the permanent variation with the rates penalty interest increase. Other revenue, the rates, other income, there is a decrease there. That's not getting as much as anticipated with the we've got 107,000 for the other contributions for the legal case. But yeah, we haven't spent as much and we haven't recovered as much. So that's that one. Tourism reimbursements, that was the increase due to the wages that we've paid to cover at the caravan park that's been reimbursed. Reimbursement of debt collection, health and administration, they're down through timing issues. Employee costs down due to various vacancies in administration and works positions. Materials and contracts, they're also down, and the same issues coming up. Rates, the legal and debt collection fees that currently haven't been undertaken, audit fees, rubbish tip fees, consultants across the board are down. Materials for access to water at the cemetery and mosquito control materials are higher, and they're a permanent change. School holidays, private works, information technology are all higher than anticipated for February. And the cinema demolition transfer from capital was a permanent timing there. Other expenditure, there's various expenditure timing. There's an $80,000 variance there, and there was a increase in members' travel and accommodation for year to date that will be a permanent increase there. Non-cash amounts, that's the depreciation variations due to the revaluation adoption after budget. Investing activities, Roads to Recovery, Watson Street, LRCIP, Warren and Weybridge, the timing of those grants, we haven't received them yet. And then LRCIP phase 1, we got an additional 24,000 that wasn't included in the budget. Outflows from investing, the timing of our plant purchases, the hydraulic arm to replace the jetty, cinema rebuild and housing projects lower than anticipated at this stage. The council chambers building project, that's a permanent variation because that project won't be proceeding due to the unsuccessful grant application. Payments for the construction of the infrastructure, there's the timing of the completion of the airport runway, the town dam fencing, Washdown Bay, Weybridge and road projects. So that gives you the February surplus of 4.948 million. And then if we go back to go forward to the graphs. Two pages on page 25, 26, it shows where the operating revenue is tracking compared to budget at this time. Any questions?
Any questions from anybody? It's all pretty self-explanatory as well, and also from the audit, our budget amendments, we're pretty well on the ball at the moment, so yeah, I think we're doing very well. I can't see any sort of anomalies and you can't see them, so I think we're doing all right.
No, I think it's tracking well.
I think so too. So I'd like to move that get someone to move that the council adopts statements of financial activity for the period ending 28th of February 25 as presented. So someone can put that forward, please. Councillor Jones is the motion forward. Second that motion. Councillor Kelly has seconded the motion. And I'm going to vote for this motion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Denise, for your time today. It's been very good and very well explained to us as always.
That's all right. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Going to move on now to our debtors, which is 12.1.2 as our rates, debtors and other financial information report from February 2025. So we need someone to move that council endorse the following reports as attached: the 90-day debtors 90-day action for February, and the rates reconciliation report for February 2025. Someone to move that, please.
Oh,
Councillor Jones to move that. Someone to second that, please. Councillor Homewood to second it. Is there any questions from our report you'd like to ask, or do we need to? CEO, is there anything you would like to add to this report, or is
I
it?
don't think so.
No, no. No, if there's no questions, we'll just go through with a motion. So I'd like to support the motion, please. Yep, thank you. Rightio, 12.1.3 is our budget review 24-25. This was the our board meeting just earlier, with regards to changing our budget where we're at the moment. So I'd like someone to move that council in accordance with Regulation 33A of the Local Government Financial Management Regulations 1996, adopt the 24-25 mid-year budget review and adopt the following budget amendments to the 24-25 adopted annual budget. I'll read these out. Operating revenue, general rates decreased provision of $55,000. Operating revenue, grants and subsidies contribution decreased provision of $39,000. Operating revenue, fees and charges, we have an increase of $161,500. Other operating revenue, other revenue, decreased provision of $52,400. Operating revenue, profit and asset disposal, increase of $23,916. Our employee costs, a decrease of $109,500. Our materials and contracts, a decreased provision of $275,170. Our utility charges of an increase of $23,500. Depreciation, increased provision of $172,746. Loss on asset disposal, increased provision of $126,212. Capital grants, subsidies and contributions, a decrease of $3,052,473. Land and decreased provision of $3,139,068. Infrastructure other is an increase of $92,818. Right of use buildings an increase of $41,000, and the surplus carried forward is $236,758. So, would someone like to move that, please? Councillor Homewood. Someone to second that, please. Councillor Williams. So, we vote for our amendments, please. Moving on to our 12.2 is our Chief Executive. 12.2.1, Community Sport and Recreation Facilities Fund, construction of a multi-purpose outdoor hard courts. We're on page 58, 145.
So this is seeking council endorsement of the application to the Community Sport Recreation Facilities Fund. You'll remember, councillors, earlier this year we applied for the larger CSRFF grant for the shade over the top of those courts that we were unsuccessful in. I've been advised that we do stand a better chance in the next grant round funding for that if we have already sealed the courts. We've put forward an application for grant funding to resurface the tennis courts, turn them into a multi-purpose outdoor hard court. And as you can see, our grant writer has gone to a lot of detail around ranking the application. Council would need to allocate $67,000 excluding GST as a contribution, and that's 2/3 of the cost of the project, and the CSRFF application is for the final 1/3.
We have discussed this in the past when we had, we've gone over to the court on visits and had a look around, and basically I think it's something that we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to get it happening. So I'd like someone to move. Council,
Very soon.
well, we're going to adopt this, get the grant, and then we're going to do a court. Actually,
It would have to be done immediately, so if we got the grant, they close shortly. I think it's actually got to be done before, in the 25-26 budget, so we could do that effectively straight away if we got the grant as soon as the next year.
Maybe later on this week or any time.
Not later this week, no. So we're making an application, so it'll take the department a couple of weeks to consider the applications and get back to us. So it will be next financial year if we are successful in this.
Yeah.
However, if we're not successful in this, council could always elect to put that in the budget anyway.
So I'd like someone to move that council rank the construction of multi-purpose outdoor hard courts project as priority 1. Rate the construction of multi-purpose outdoor hard courts project as a well planned and needed by municipality. Sorry. Endorses a community sport and recreation facilities fund grant application to be submitted seeking 1/3 of project costs for the construction of multi-purpose outdoor hard courts project in March 2025 funding round, and commits to the allocation of 67,600 excluding GST in the 25-26 budget as a contribution to the construction of multi-purpose outdoor hard courts project. Does someone move that motion, please? And someone second. Councillor Kelly. So, we're going to vote for this motion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. This afternoon we had a compliance meeting. So 12.2.2, we're on page 81. 145.
This is compliance audit return that we discussed at the audit committee meeting earlier. The resolution is that council endorse the compliance audit return and authorise the CEO to submit it to the department CEO in accordance with regulation 15. So basically accepting the recommendation of the committee.
So I'm going to have someone to move that. Councillor Jones to move the motion. Someone second that. Councillor Williams has seconded the motion. And we're all going to vote for the motion. Indeed, thank you very much. Okay. So, we're going pretty quickly, aren't we? All right, so we're on 12.2.3. Notice of motions from ordinary meeting of council of the 26th of February 2025. So, we're on page 115.
115.
So these are responses to the notice of motions previously advised from the previous meeting. And two notices of motion that were put forward by elected members. One of them was with regards to the provided an update from the Department of Planning and Lands and Heritage on the status, the tenant status of Block 400, and then in regard to the cleaning up of asbestos contamination at Kennedy Court, which has been unresolved for over 12 months now. So that was one of the resolutions that we put forward for a notice of motion. From that notice, I think the CEO...
So ordinarily there would be an individual agenda item for each of those notices of motion, and I would put forward the investigation that was undertaken. In relation to Lot 400 and 16 Kennedy Court, the department were not able to provide us with an update at such a short turnaround. There's quite a bit involved in them preparing an update on the situation at the moment. They will provide an update at the end of next month, at next month's meeting. They've committed to doing that. In relation to the swimming pool season extension that Councillor Williams put forward, I have spoken with GSAC and they are not available to open the pool. They can't access the suitably qualified staff. So I didn't bother putting forward a further agenda item for that for councillors.
through the chair, we might not need it anyhow. When it cools down.
So I'd like someone to move that council accept the update as provided to the request for information at the ordinary meeting of council held on the 26th of February. So someone move that, please. So Jones moved it, Mark's going to second it, Councillor Holman will second it. Right, so we'll vote for this motion to accept the updates. Yeah, so it's 5-6. Rightio, 12.2.4 is write-off of infringements. So this is in relation to court cases that we've had against Mr. Black.
So there was, at last month's court date in relation to these matters, an agreement was reached between Mr. Black's lawyer and the council's lawyer, whereby Mr. Black entered a plea of guilty on all 3 charges, one for the Planning Act, one for the Health Asbestos Act, and one for the Building Act. So the Asbestos and the Building Act relate to 16 Kennedy Court being burnt down, not complying with the orders that were issued, and the prosecution of the Planning Act related to, that was almost 12 months ago, when there was storage of materials being made on Lot 400 that was contrary to our town planning scheme. So effectively I've put there for councillors' information the timeline of the prosecutions, because they've all become tied together now. They date back to October 2023. The Planning Act matter, there was a plea of guilty entered in August 2024. However, that happened a week after the prosecution notices were served on in relation to 16 Kennedy Court. As a result, the magistrate elected to have all matters heard together. They didn't want a sentence on the Planning Act individually. They wanted to do sentencing for all potential matters at once. There followed a series of adjournments for various reasons over a number of months. Effectively in February, so last month, the day after the council meeting here, Mr. Black wasn't able to attend court. However, his lawyer said that he had agreed to enter a plea of guilty for those 2 charges in exchange for council dropping a number of infringement notices. So when you look at the timeline of the prosecutions, the cost to date, not including the last court hearing, is $22,000. I'm sure council can understand the drain that has been on staff resources in addressing this matter. So to achieve an outcome that brings these current matters to a close, that would be cost effective for the council. So as such, I'm seeking council's endorsement to write off those infringement notices that will no longer be outstanding as a result of council charges.
Okay then, self-explanatory.
Tomorrow there will be a there will be a sentencing on the 3 that have a guilty charge against them, and we'll know the outcome after that.
Someone get it on the table, they're not someone to move. The council agreed to continue the following infringement notices. ASB 001, ASB 002, ASB 003, ASB 004, WLL 001, and authorise the CO to write off any outstanding debt in relation to these matters. So someone to move that, please. Councillor Williams. And I'll need a seconder for that, please. Seconder, anybody?
All of these infringements relate to the disposal of the asbestos that was undertaken. Councillors may remember there was a meeting held specifically in relation to that.
Does anyone want any comment or ask? Or?
So what we've done a deal, we're writing off these in exchange for the building being assessed tomorrow.
That's correct.
So the pleas are, we're basically just finalising the actual
Endorsing the action.
endorsing the action. So it's in the court now and it's where it's at. So these
So through the chair, does that mean there is still a consequence for his actions?
there's still a consequence. So some of the
So we're
charges.
just writing off his debt.
So these ones here are in relation to the other write-offs of the that's what these were the infringements that were underneath. So they
So
made a
there will
deal.
be a fine issued on, at least on the other three matters. Each of the other three matters will have a fine attached to them.
So I'd like to vote on that, please. No more comments? Right, so getting that off. Okay. 12.3 events. 12.3.1 is our events register. So we've got a bit of an update on events. Tyler, our community development officer, put a list of completed events and events that are coming up. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to do. Yes, she has. So this is where we're at the moment. If there's some other things you'd like to contribute or ask questions about, I don't think that what they're doing here is a great thing. You can see the amount of people that have been attending the stuff that we have had, and I think that Martin's done a great job. So I think
We're
that's
looking to make this a regular agenda item for councillors so that you can keep up to date with what's happening.
so. Through the event calendar there, we've got, and I think our next big but the big thing we're doing is our International Women's Day, isn't it? That's happening. We've done
We've
that.
done that, yeah.
Anzac Day is our next big event. So, yes, looking forward to that.
If councillors would be aware, every Monday now we're having story time at the library. It'd be really great if we could encourage young people to bring their children along for the story time. Gina's going to do a lot of effort to make that event successful, and she's also having a Mums and Bubs Library event on Fridays. So similarly, anybody that you know who's got a baby 0 to 2 years old, they're welcome to attend to that library day.
And just through the chair, I'd like to say, Margie's doing a great job.
I agree.
And to be the chair, I would endorse what you've just said.
Through the chair, can we have quick updates from Margie? She might
No, she's not here not tonight.
Not tonight,
No,
okay.
she's actually here as a member of our public.
That's okay.
I'd like someone to move that council accept the event update for March 2025 as reported. So Councillor Kelly, and to second that motion, please, I'd like Councillor Williams. So, call out the corner. So. You're on, yeah. So I'd like to vote people. You see your hand now. Thank you so much. Righto. We have a governance update.
So this is another new item that we're looking to make as a regular agenda update for councillors, just to ensure that everybody's aware of what's going on, and it also helps at the end of the year with that compliance audit which is happening, so we can demonstrate that councillors have been kept up to date. Erica will present this item. If there's any questions to be had on it, or any changes you would like made,
Only paid one.
that's up to you. So we'll see the first 2 pages have got the list of attendances for last year, and then we've started this year's as well. Page 131 is the same, represented in a draft format with councillor payments underneath. For 24, the next one is the same for this year to date. And following that is the elected member professional development and training that's been undertaken.
Any questions there for Erica or anybody?
With that training, I've done most of this previously.
Yeah.
You've
There's
done
some
IPL.
modules, so,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I did it all years ago.
yeah.
I did the same.
They've got a specific module that you have to do and we have to report on that one, Councillor Hynes, unfortunately. But you haven't been elected since that rule came
No.
into place,
No.
so you haven't been required to undertake that training at this stage.
No, I'm just saying that I've done it all.
Yeah.
I'd like someone to move, the council accept the attendance and funding register update for the March report. Can I do that, please? Councillor Jones. Someone to second that motion, please. Councillor Kelly. And to vote on that motion, please. Yep, Marcus, thank you. Now, the most interesting part of the day right now is our works report. So I'll invite 12.5.1 is our works manager's report. I'd like to invite Jamie to enlighten us on what he's been doing for the last few weeks.
All right, general parks and gardens, we've had regular rounds of mowing, watering and weeding, obviously. We're having continual issues with hot weather, water quality and infrastructure failures as we go along. The bore pump at the town bore we replaced, and then after running it for 48 hours, the bore's dry. So we removed it and put it into where the tank's bore is, and we're getting about 50% of what the water supply was out of the town bore. I don't believe it's as good a quality water either. So that's an issue. I have contractors I've calls out to contractors to come and flush the bore. We'll try and see what we can do with it. If not, we'll start looking for another alternative. Mount Farmer Road resheeting. We've done quite a lot of resheeting out through there, almost approximately around 25, nearly 30 kilometres of resheeting out through that area. There's been more gravel pushed up at Ora pits. We've replaced grids on the Meeline Road and the Mount Farmer Road. In construction, the weighbridge at the waste landfill site is in and operational. We're still running a couple of training with the guys just to get them used to it. The solar installation at the racecourse is completed, and it pretty well can run the cool room all day on the power that's supplied, plus lighting and everything we need out there. We've commenced clearing the LIA roadworks for the blade transport. There's a big swathe of land cut through out there. We'll start on compaction and sheeting in the next week or so. The Watson Street flood mitigation we've commenced. There's a bit of dust, and we're trying our best to keep the water up to it. We've got a very shortage of water at the moment, so we're hauling it in from about 18-20 k's out, bring water in with the water trucks. Warren Street construction should have commenced, and as we're not the day I wrote this, but we've swung everybody onto Watson Street at the moment. We've had various small plumbing and electrical repairs, including the pool, a couple of issues of pool earlier on in the month, as well as with some of the houses. We've received a new skid steer, a new forklift, and they're all in use, and we have one Hilux dual cab that I've got to pick up, which was in the budget on Monday.
That's great. So with regards to Watson Street, I have a few questions with that. Someone sort of asked me that. So we're just basically down the centre of Watson Street on this end.
Yeah.
We're addressing just the water there, aren't we?
What we're trying to do is get the water to stay off the road and go in, and then water those islands.
So those
at the moment they're like this, they're a big dome in the middle, so I just want to turn them into a almost a sump with a concave, so that the swale, so the water can get in, cut through the curb and let water access off the roads.
You can see that the first thing you've done, that's really great. So that's going to continue down there.
Continue on that way down, and then opposite where there's enough room, both sides of verges will be trimmed again and set up so the back of the curb and everything falls to the back of the curb and the water runs off onto the roads.
I've seen you've got a new spring drain down the other end there too. Which
Yeah, that's been run right down into, we found a drainage channel, so the water that comes off those roads. So it's pretty well, all the surface drainage will be upgraded and reformed, as well as along the back of the houses. At the front of the creek there, we're going to build a road at the height and batter it off and clean up all that area down along the creek bank.
Yep.
So that if the water comes up out of the creek, it protects the houses to a degree and directs the water south, and will also get in the creek and clean out any vegetation that's obstructing flow and things like that, so the creek gets a chance to get away.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last bit. Are you going to extend in the creek, further grading like behind the museum?
Probably a little bit, maybe just take the vegetation out and stuff that's stopping water
Yeah.
flowing.
Yeah.
Within the creek on the banks, I'll keep it because it holds the banks.
Yeah. The water actually runs uphill, as you've probably seen, and it just
Yeah.
floods all of that section.
Yeah,
of
and that's the idea. The work that was done prior to me coming to town, where they cleaned out the creek quite way south of town, really works, the water. So if we can clear some of the obstructions before then, so the water doesn't build up, and we can get it away. And it's the same with all the drainage out the back is here, is to get it to flow back to the creek as quick as possible. So it's not sitting on roads. Hopefully not, but I can't guarantee it. Depends on how much rain we get. And
No, thank you.
yeah, but that's our plan. It's just to try and get the water flowing well before it gets to a problem.
Before it builds up, yeah, that's what the problem's been.
So that's what we're working towards. So if people can put up a little bit of dust for a little while and some noise, we'll endeavour to get it done as quick as possible.
Probably asked about this about 10 years ago, and I was told, oh, we can't touch the median strip. I don't know why, because there's not a plant in it, there's only a few shrubs.
No, well, we're trying to maintain the bigger trees.
Yeah.
And there will be some replanting done. There is water in all of those medium strips. There's scant water there, so and a lot of mulch will go in.
Thank you.
Okay then, no more questions for Jamie. I'd like someone to move the council accepts the works manager's report for March 2025. So someone to endorse that is Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Williams. We need a vote. Notice of motions of which previous notice have been given, there's 0. Notices of motion for the next meeting. Anybody?
Councillor Kelly has one like that.
Councillor Kelly, you've got a motion for the next meeting you'd like to?
Yeah, I think through the chair, sorry, they're going to submit it to the trailers for an email in the next week or something. I do have to put one in there.
Yeah.
It's for the Buddy My Language
Yep.
signage in the community.
Okay, yep. So that, I know, was in around town and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
and it'll be in Buddy My and
English.
so everyone knows. We're not going to put it everywhere, but just like there's going to be in a letter.
I understand that, yep.
Yeah.
So is that relate to stuff with the school as well?
Yeah,
Cool, awesome.
the Buddy My Language project ties in with the whole community, the school.
Yep, I remember that. Yep, all right then.
So
you-
that council to consider Badamaya language signing throughout Mount Magnet?
Yeah.
Yep. So I someone to move that motion. Councillor Williams. Someone to second that, please. Seconded it. Councillor Jones. And we're going to cover endorsing that motion today. Yes. Rightio. Urgent business introduced by the decision of the meeting. So that's our.
Late business.
We're going to the next one.
Sorry, we'll call it late rather than urgent.
Okay, then it's late. Okay. So late business, we actually have some here. We have one late item. So we'll go through that now.
Is that late, sorry for the chair, late and confidential?
It's in the same book.
Same book. So the late item's the first one. The purchase of properties. That's correct. Yeah. One second. Yep, that one. And this one. That one.
Yeah.
So have you had council endorse the introduction of?
So we've got someone to, it doesn't say that here. Computer said no. Right, so 17.1.
So could you please have somebody endorse the introduction of late?
All right, so someone endorsed the introduction later. Councillor Homewood's endorsed it. Can someone second that motion? Councillor Jones.
I'm on 16.1.
You can have a 16.1, yes.
We can. All right. 16.1 is purchase of properties. Yep.
Confidential.
So someone's endorsed that.
Right.
So we need to endorse that, to vote that. We need to vote to put them on the table, please. Is that vote on?
Sorry.
Councillor Hamilton Jones. And
16.1.
Right.
Yeah, and if we're voting for that, so Councillor Jones and Homewood have endorsed the, so we have to vote on actually going forward, introducing the item.
To introduce it.
Yeah, so we need to vote to introduce it and then we'll go to the item, so. 5-0. Yep. All right, now we can go to the item. 16.1, purchase of properties. So these are, we've got some lease properties that we take off with, we lease off the Department of Land and Heritage. So we've got our staff housing on, and we spoke about this before about actually purchasing this property, these, the land under these properties. And we've been given a evaluation from the Department of Land and Heritage on these two properties, so $11,000 plus GST, wasn't it? Including GST. So basically the bottom line is we're going to purchase properties in Jensen Close for the total cost of $20,000. I think we've got something for the site for that anyway, didn't we?
So if I may,
Elaborate, yes.
so we actually leased 3 houses from the department, but we've only received one valuation at this stage. The valuation came in on Monday, which is why this is a late item. As we've discovered with Department of Planning, it takes some time for things to get momentum, and when they reach a certain point, if we can act on them straight away, it's in our best interests. So 2 of the properties that we've received, they are older homes, so they're the ones on Jensen Street by the works manager and works supervisor, and they do need significant work done to them to make them acceptable. I undertook a very brief desktop review on a comparable modular transportable size home brought to town, and that's in the vicinity of $420,000, and I'll put an example of that home on the brochure so the council can see what I'm comparing it to. So to buy a new house for those people, it would be about $420,000. Still slightly smaller than the ones they're in, but similar. So we're currently leasing those 3 properties for $750 a year. It's very, very cheap lease. However, I don't think it's financially smart of us to invest significant funds in improving those properties when they don't belong to us. So, current worksafe legislation also provides that an employer-provided accommodation must meet certain standards, and the employer is responsible for their housing provided and the accommodation provided every bit as much as they are as the workplace. So we've talked before about attracting and retaining staff in Mount Magnet, and the current housing is really not up to comparable standard with other local governments. So we do need to do something about the situation. The current real estate market, if you have a look at the table, it lists all the sales for 24 and 25 in Mount Magnet, with the median price established being $129,750, notwithstanding that one of those properties was converted to freehold for a private sale by the department of $7,000, which reduced that median price. So the general trend in prices has been up, and you'll see since the start of 2023 there has been a 100% increase in the median price of houses in Mount Magnet. So the purchase of a house in Mount Magnet for $10,000 for the Shire, when the median house price is $120,000, we can do a lot of renovations to a house and it's come in at that price. So it would seem prudent to purchase the houses that we already have the staff in. Yeah, that's it.
So I'd like someone to move that council accept the valuation provided by the Department of Planning and Heritage on lots 453 and 460, and authorise the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, to complete the purchase of the properties and council approve expenditure from their infrastructure reserve of $20,000 for this purpose. Someone like to move that, please.
Just for a chair, point of clarification, we own the houses on the blocks, we just list the blocks.
That's
We
right.
own- Yeah, right.
So someone to move that,
Having
please.
said that, if they reneged on the lease, we would have to then go
Yeah,
and move
take the houses off, yeah,
So-
yeah, absolutely.
So someone like to move that, please. Who's going to move it? Someone to second the motion, please. Councillor Jones, to second the motion. Parliament like to vote for purchasing the land. You're not
Voting
voting?
against it, I couldn't hear half of what the
So you-
CEO
so-
said, I'm sorry, because
So you don't
I'm not
think we
sitting on that side of the room, so.
so you don't think we should be purchasing these blocks of land?
Well, I just need time to, I was trying to read this and listen to the CEO at the same time, so at this stage I'm voting against the motion.
Because you don't.
Because I want more time to understand what's been said, thank you.
So that's the question. So what's the question you want to know?
Well, which properties, how much are we spending?
We're spending $11,000 per property to purchase them,
$11,000
each,
to purchase,
the land underneath them.
and that's vacant land.
No, it's got a house on it. We lease the property.
Mhm.
The house is on the property. So we own the house, the department own the land. So we're trying to purchase the land off the department, so we own the whole thing wholly.
Right.
So if the department ever decide not to keep the lease,
Thank
we
you.
don't get to keep the house.
I couldn't understand that bit.
So
we're-
do you
we're just-
understand that now?
We're making the, a freehold to
Look,
decide.
we're going to have freehold land
Yeah.
to those properties.
That's,
And there's still one to purchase if they, once we get a valuation. So we have 3 leased properties at the moment.
Yeah.
And these 2 are giving us an
So we're going
opportunity.
to be then owning the land as well as.
That's right. So then we have justification to spend money on those properties because we actually own them outright.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. So
Okay.
would you like to vote for this motion now? Yes.
Now, thank you.
everybody.
Pointing that out.
Yeah. Rightio. So we've got to the, we're going now to the confidential. So I need someone to move that council approve the introduction of confidential business in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995 S 5.232C and close the meeting to the public. Someone move that, please. Councillor Homewood, someone second that, please. Councillor Kelly.
See you later, guys.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Gary.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome to come back in about 10 minutes.
No, you're right, I'll
You go to the pub.
probably will.
Well, thanks for coming. I really appreciate your presentation today as well. It's great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Mr. President, are we up to 17.1?
That's what we're doing now. So that's why we're going into confidential.
Yep.
Okay. So now, the next meeting of council will be held on the 16th of April, 2025, and I will declare the meeting closed.
I thought there was a different date. Has it been brought forward?
No, it's 16th on the schedule.
Yeah.
Because of Anzac Day.
Well, I haven't been getting anything because my.
Oh,
Sorry. So,
No, this is
It's
what
on the
this is what was
same.
made last
Yeah.
year, so
Yeah.
this is what's advertised publicly.
Right.
the meeting closed at 6:20.
yes, it was.
And it's the 16th of,
April 2025.
Oh, okay, so just in a couple of weeks.
3.
what's that?
Does it matter?
Because of Anzac Day.
And bearing in mind that I'll be out of action for a fair bit of that, so there'll probably be a fairly thin agenda next time.